everyone's been giving rave reviews about Swigato, the trailer that you guys just saw. It is a theatrical release. It's not an OTT-only release, of course. I urge all of you all to go to the cinema halls and watch this movie. It's a tearjerker. It's doing well at film festivals across the world. But more importantly, I host a technology show for the India Today group. And there's a huge tech element behind this particular movie. It's man and algorithm. Everything changed during the lockdown, and content consumption patterns changed. More importantly, how we really ordered food all the time and were largely apathetic to the real situation on the other end of the delivery app. So how much of this, the script writing process was actually influenced, Nandita, by the algorithm?
Firstly, it was born during COVID times when, the irony of stay home, stay safe, I think wasn't lost on us, because we were at home and we were still seeing these stories on television, in news about so many migrant workers trying to go back home. So much of joblessness had increased. People were doing far more menial work than what they deserved or what they were doing earlier. So there was all of this happening, and in some ways gig economy was seen as a bit of a savior. It was a new profession comparatively, and there were a lot of young people who were delivering things while we sat at home. And it was just I was just curious that what was their life? Because this was not a traditional workspace where you have colleagues and co-workers and a boss and you ask around and you complain about something. There was no contact. You were literally on your own with this one phone in your hand, and in a country that's largely, not so literate, grappling with rules changing on the phone, with new instructions, and, this ominous boss who's sort of invisible in some sense. Everything is on the phone. Who do you talk to? Who do you ask? Who is your colleague? So it was just sort of interesting that how these nameless, faceless people were just called.
Former US President Donald Trump will be surrendering and appearing in a New York City court to face charges later tonight, India Standard Time. The ex-US president is expected to arrive in court any time now. Trump will be booked and taken into custody today, is what we can confirm to you right here on India Today. Our live coverage of the proceedings in New York City with reporters on the ground starts in just a short while from now. Take a look at the latest of what we know as Trump gets set to face judgment.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump arrived in New York City on Monday, walking into Trump Tower ahead of his historic arraignment on Tuesday to face charges stemming from a probe into hush money paid to a porn star before the 2016 election. Security was high outside the Manhattan courthouse, where Trump is likely to be fingerprinted and photographed Tuesday afternoon. At a news conference, New York City Mayor Eric Adams warned protesters to behave themselves or face the consequences.
While there may be some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger. As always, we will not allow violence or vandalism of any kind. And if one is caught participating in any act of violence, they will be arrested and held accountable, no matter who you are.
There he is! Trump left his Florida home midday Monday to cheering supporters as his motorcade drove by to take him to his private plane at the airport, which flew him to New York. The Republican who's seeking to regain the presidency in 2024 is the first sitting or former U.S. president to face criminal charges. A grand jury voted to indict him last week. Trump was due to surrender at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office on Tuesday before appearing before a judge, where he's expected to plead not guilty. The specific charges have yet to be disclosed. Trump has said he's innocent, and his allies have portrayed the charges as politically motivated. The Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, who's leading the prosecution, is a Democrat. Former New York State Deputy Attorney General Danya Perry explains what will likely happen inside the courtroom.
Mr. Trump will be brought to the courthouse on the 15th floor of the criminal court in Manhattan, and he will appear in front of a judge who will then tell him what the charges are against him, ask him how he pleads, and will set, in this case, there will certainly be no bail, and so he will release the former president on his own recognizance and will set some schedule for the next court appearance and potentially for discovery and for motion practice. And that's fairly typical. Of course, in some ways, this is a first of its kind. There will be a Secret Service detail. There will be a lot of security and law enforcement presence to make sure that there is no violence and no disruptions.
Trump is expected to fly back to Florida after Tuesday's arraignment and deliver primetime remarks at his Mar-a-Lago estate.
So what next for Donald Trump? Because a lot of people are not very clear about the process in the US judicial system. Now, remember that Trump is the first former US president to face criminal prosecution. Now, Trump faces white-collar crimes and the charges against him are based on fraudulent financial dealings. He is a defendant in such cases and they typically self-surrender, which is what Trump is doing right now. He's likely to remain in Secret Service custody. As an ex-president, he's entitled to that. Now, if Trump doesn't surrender, and this doesn't arise because he does plan to, he will be arrested publicly, but that is unlikely to happen because he is going to present himself. Now, the actual indictment, which has already happened by a grand jury, does not technically keep Trump from fighting for the Republican presidential nomination for 2024. He will, however, stand trial in the midst of the 2024 campaign as the process moves forward. And if elected, he cannot pardon himself of criminal charges. He still has to face all of those charges. So it's a very, very interesting sort of galaxy of possibilities as far as Trump's America is concerned. I'm joined live now by Gaurav Sawant and Geeta Mohan, our two frontline reporters tracking this absolutely tantalizing story. Geeta, quickly to you first, you've been in touch with, many of, reporters, the media, diplomats in the United States as well. Everyone is expecting today to be full of spectacle. I hope it is going to be full of spectacle. Or is it going to be a damn squib? 15 minutes in and out, no cameras allowed. I hope we're going to get to see something.
Well, knowing Trump, there'll certainly be a few things that will come up. But Shiv, even before the proceedings began, the mayor of New York City had come out and said that this is nobody's playground, that people should not be crowding the Trump Tower. The reason why we saw very few people outside the Trump Tower when former President Trump had arrived in New York. So let's see what happens and how things pan out. But that does not mean that it does not reflect in numbers. If you see the poll numbers, his Republican candidature or nomination, his popularity has increased a lot since the entire investigation and now the indictment. And it just seems like he's only growing stronger within the Republican Party.
Yes.
Having said that, like you said, an indictment does not stop him from running for the presidential race, but a trial certainly will put a lot of stumbling block in his future if he fights the presidential race. So this is going to be a very interesting day. At around 8:15 p.m. is when he's likely to hold a televised address, Shiv. That would be wee hours here in India. But that certainly will be an interesting one because we know some of the things that Trump will be saying in that address of his.
Very interesting. Gaurav, I'm just going to come to you in a bit. Please stay with me. I want to get a quick word in from Lenka White. She's a journalist in the United States. She's in New York City. Lenka, I understand you're going to be heading to court where Trump will be produced in a short while from now. If you could just, draw us a picture of what today is going to look like. Where is Trump going to show up? What's going to happen to him? Are there going to be handcuffs? Is there going to be a lot of drama? Can you tell us what you're expecting to see, Lenka?
Hello. It's a great question. There is definitely going to be a lot of drama because everywhere Trump goes, there is a lot of drama. And I have been following this for already about 2 weeks, and there have been barricades in place. There have been many police people around. and everybody is literally preparing for that. Like even people from other businesses are expecting it because they are worried. What if there will be some protests, after that? So the whole city is sort of waiting for this. And as you know, Trump arrived yesterday evening, and today at about 11 a.m. our local time, he's expected to be at the court and say 2 words, not guilty.
Yeah. Is his family going to be with him? Is Melania going to be with him, Lenka? Do we know that?
Sorry, what did you say? The connection is a little bit breaky.
Is Melania Trump or other members of Trump's family, are they going to be with him?
The verdict is not going to be probably known today. He's going to say, I'm not guilty, but the whole process may take a little bit longer. It is expected that he will be there for about half an hour inside the building. And then we will see what the lawyer will come up with. Because, for example, even the current judge, this case is having, Trump doesn't like him. He already said it in his social media. So we might be expecting that they will even ask for a different judge, but it's not yet confirmed.
All right, Lenka, thanks very much for that live input. We will connect with you a little later. Lenka White's going to be in court for that half-hour appearance by Donald Trump. Gaurav, one of the most important questions to ask right now is also what happens to Trump's, re-election campaign. Now, technically speaking, he is not going to be barred from the actual fight for the nomination of the Republican candidature. But very interestingly, Gaurav, and we were talking about this earlier, this entire process might actually consolidate Trump's, voter base in some strange way and may benefit him in the long run.
Shiv, Donald Trump is seeing this as an opportunity in an adversity. And clearly he said that his team is saying they've already been able to generate an additional $8 million in campaign fund for Donald Trump. He says this is political victimization because he's made one thing very clear. In that address a short while back, he also said, I cannot be bought. I fight for the people of America. And that is why they've put these trumped-up charges against him to put him down. And he says that's clearly not going to happen. But America too, the government, the administration, they've learned their lessons from what happened in January 2021 at the Capitol Hill. And that is why, Shiv, there are 35,000 police personnel on the streets of New York today and 1,000 police personnel, police officers deployed from Trump Tower. He comes down from his penthouse, goes all the way up to this Manhattan court. So 1,000 policemen on that road. That road's been barricaded. People have been told where they can stand, where they can't be. Several roads have also been closed. So this will not be another Capitol Hill repeat is what the administration insists. As Ms. White was mentioning, this process is likely to last half an hour and he will fly straight back to Florida where he will address the nation and perhaps talk about how he is being victimized.
Okay, it's going to be a big Trump night. No mistake about that. Half hour, 1 hour, his flight, all of it's going to be tracked by Gaurav, Geeta and me starting 10 p.m. tonight here on India Today special coverage. The only channel with a full team reporting from both New York City as well as Florida. We'll try and get you the best pictures of this entire very, very promising, dramatic night. Many histories, many firsts to be made this evening in New York City. Thanks very much, Gaurav and Geeta, for joining me. That's a wrap on 5 Live. Coming up next is 6 p.m. Prime with Akshita. Prime Minister Modi's degree row has exploded now to expose cracks in the coalition of Maharashtra. Everything that happens politically seems to have an impact on opposition unity. This time, it's in the Aghadi alliance. That's with Akshita next.
Dakshinamurthy Krishnakumar, Chudaratna Amma and their 20-year-old Bajaj Chetak have gone places. Far too many than most Indians. Krishnakumar, a resident of Mysuru, has gone on a tour of India with his 73-year-old mother. covering temples, spiritual places, monasteries, and ashrams across the country. He calls his journey the Matru Seva Sankalp Yatra.
एक दिन बातों बात करने का समय में मेरी माता जी को मैं एक प्रश्न पूछा, माँ आप तिरुवन्नामलाई, तिरुक्कोइलूर, तिरुवारंगम, तिरुनेलवेली, तिरुपट्टूर, तिरुवनंतपुरम, तिरुपति कुछ देख आया माँ? मेरी माता जी ने कहा, मैं यहाँ नज़दीक वाले मंदिर भी अभी तक नहीं देखा बेटा। मेरी माता जी का वो मुखभाव देखकर मुझको परेशान हो गया।
Krishna Kumar, who's unmarried, was employed in a multinational company a few years back. He quit his job and decided to take his mother on a pilgrimage. They've covered 65,000 kilometers and visited 20 states, including Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Odisha, Arunachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and many more. Industrialist Anand Mahindra gifted them a KUV 100 a few years ago, but he prefers to travel on the scooter, gifted to him by his father, who passed away.
KUV 100 NXT 2 साल के पहले दिया था, वो अभी मैसूर में है, because I am very much serious on spiritual life, so I will not go for